It's been a very sad week in Kenya as thousands of Kenyans rolled to the street to protest against the finance bill, which unfortunately resulted in 6 deaths. Finally, President William Ruto abandoned the deal, citing that he had heard the voice of Kenyans and then chose to abandon the bill. This topic is what we are going to be discussing today. My name is IGIHE Emmanuel. I'm here with Wycliffe Nyamasege. Wycliffe, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. You know, I'm used to sitting where you are sitting, but today it's the other way around. But it's an honor to be here.
You are in the hot seat.
Yes, exactly.
Wycliffe is a Kenyan practicing journalism here at IGIHE. Now, Wycliffe, we've been seeing a very tense situation in Kenya. We've seen a very, really strong protests, and we'd like to know why is Kenya in this position? Why are Kenyans on the street protesting against the finance bill?
Emmanuel, from where I sit, I think it's anger that has built up over the past 2 years since President Ruto took office. That is in September of 2022. And the promises he gave the people.
Yep.
Yeah. So between 2022 and now 2024, I think, or I feel, there's a big disconnect of the manifesto the Kenya Kwanza administration presented to the people and what they are doing currently. Because you see, the prices that were there, that former retired President Uhuru Kenyatta left, when President Ruto was campaigning, he was heavily criticizing whatever the government had done. So there were huge expectations, especially to the mama mbogas and other people, hustlers, that President Ruto and his camp said they were representing. So when the same people look at Ruto today, they see a very different person. So that's why you see all this. It has transitioned from just the mama mbogas and all those people, even to the young people who are being affected by choices taken by this administration.
But when you say choices taken by this administration, I have a question over there, because we know that Ruto inherited a very fragile economy. Kenya was about to default. He had to deal with so many things, especially paying the Eurobond, which was about to due. So now, he inherited already an economy which was fragile, that he didn't have options to maneuver and do things in a very easy way. So he definitely increased the taxes. So why do you blame him for this, while he inherited an economy which was already very distressed?
Yeah, there has been that pressure. Even Ruto himself has said severally that, whatever is collected as income from the taxes in the country, 70% of it goes to repaying, foreign debt. But it doesn't just end there. There are policies that, since, like I said, the finance bill is prepared every year. So the first finance bill was prepared last year. That was 2023. So that means that the finance bill that President Ruto and his administration were using was the one that previously was prepared by the Uhuru administration. So when they got an opportunity to get to power, they prepared their own. And it was very controversial, but there were concessions. Kenyans accepted and said that we understand how the situation is and, the taxes you want to impose. Kenyans accepted. Then now, just a year down the line, even after, there was the housing levy that, the Ruto administration imposed on Kenyans, the cases are still in court. Even before those wounds heal, you are introducing more taxes. So Kenyans are asking, do you want to tax us to death? If we die, who is going to pay these taxes, or who is going to pay the debts? So there's that balancing act
but my question is, isn't it necessary to increase the tax? Because, as we said, he already said it, a lot of money are used to pay the debt, which means increasing the tax to generate more money is a necessity to the country. So why don't you understand that? I mean, by you, I mean the whole Kenyans.
it is necessary to increase the taxes, but you must also balance it with other. The cost of living in Kenya is so high. So the timing, and currently as we stand, you rightly said that Kenya finished repaying its, the Eurobond that was taken in 2014 around 3-4 days ago. We are not on a danger zone anymore. So it means that if we just stabilize, we continue doing what we are doing right, and using the current taxes that we are getting, then we are at a good position. So you don't have to tax people more than they can hold on their backs.
But I don't think if it wasn't really very necessary, he wouldn't be risking everything, because this is a very huge risk to him. So I see the necessity, and I don't understand why, as Kenyans, don't see the same, reasoning, the logic behind his decision.
It is because of, whatever currently, what Kenyans are earning. You go to work, but when you go home, your kids, they see you going to work, bathing, going to work every day. But now you can't be returning every day at home and telling them that you have nothing. So there's that pressure from everywhere, from home, from everywhere. It is boiling down to everything that you are saying today. People can no longer understand that we need to pay debts. So that's why I'm insisting the balancing act.
But I think the risk, as you rightly understand, the risk of defaulting is much bigger than the risk of, dealing with taxes, which might be decreased later on, isn't it?
Yeah, I understand the risks. There are countries that have defaulted. We have Ethiopia that more recently defaulted. That was last year. Then we have Ghana. Then we have Zambia. All those have defaulted. But there are cases on another level. Wherever Kenya is right now, the risk is not so much as it was last year. Like I said, we have at least stabilized things. We are moving well. So if we maintain the momentum using the taxes that we are collecting and everything, then there is nothing really to worry about beyond what we have.
All right, now let's talk about the elements of the finance bill, which Kenyans didn't seem to like. What are the bigger elements of this bill that really Kenyans didn't seem to like?
Kenyans generally were angered by everything in that finance bill. But let's start with the most crucial thing that most people were unhappy with, which is the VAT on bread. Bread is everybody takes bread in the morning. Yep. It's even the Bible, they talk about bread and everything.
It's been taken for...
Yeah. So people were angered by that. They wanted to introduce 16% value-added tax on bread. Currently, bread is 0 rated. So Kenyans felt like that Kenya is not ready to introduce that tax yet. Then there was another tax that even the government officials from even the Ministry of Finance were not able to explain when they were appearing in local media there to try and explain it. It's called the motor vehicle circulation tax, 2.5. You pay that against the value of your vehicle annually for just owning a vehicle.
Yeah, which is a depreciating asset.
Yes, so you pay 2.5 tax every year. So it elicited a lot of debate. Then there was an eco levy for this product that harm the environment. They were proposing for Kenyan shillings 150 per kg of imported things. So if you are importing things like sanitary pads, diapers, you are charged. So that means these products were going to be expensive. And there's one thing the government said when they came to power, that they were going to reduce the prices of diapers for mothers. And Kenyans were very concerned about those issues.
Yeah.
Then there was another tax. They are trying to increase, the charges, mobile money transfer charges. Currently, the tax is 15%. They wanted to take it to 20%. Then there was an import declaration tax that if you import something, it currently it's at 2.5. They wanted to take it to 3.5. So that means everything generally imported, the prices were going to go higher. Then there was another tax that they wanted to introduce 16% on these products that you import that are used at local hospitals, like beds, especially used to treat, these terminal illnesses. And Kenyans felt that, now going to treat these illnesses in the future is going to get expensive. So Kenyans were dissatisfied with that. And going back a bit about the eco levy, most young people were unpleased with the proposal, because now when you say you are going to tax, you are going to introduce this eco levy, it means they were saying like cameras that young people use are going to attract the tax. Cameras, TVs, and everything about electronics, they are going to attract the tax, and even smartphones. So meaning owning these gadgets in the future was going to be expensive. So those are some of the things that made Kenyans really take to the streets to protest against this finance bill.
Now that the President Ruto refused to sign the bill, what is going to happen? Because the government is still broke, and the problems are still there, and his proposal to raise money for the government has been rejected. Now, what can we expect? What is the way out?
So I would go with the answer the president gave. He said that most of the things that he had planned for, some of them, they will try to get money from elsewhere. Could be concession or loans again from maybe IMF.
But there is no more room to maneuver.
So I'm just trying to imagine. Then he also talked about, postponing the projects, like the things they wanted to implement, because without money, there are things you can't implement. So you postpone.
Do you think Kenyans are ready to see a country which doesn't really have projects going on? It's basically stifling the development if you're postponing the development projects.
I think it's more of priorities. He agreed today. He agreed that there are things for him and his government they thought were priorities, but right now, from what they have listened from Kenyans, they think that most of these things need to be, they need to concede, then go and rethink them. Maybe there are things they think are priorities right now, but Kenyans are sleeping on an empty stomach. So you better save these people, and if it's something you wanted to implement, you hold it a bit as you prioritize other things. Of course, there are many other projects that are going to continue that had a budget from last year, and so important projects are going to continue, and the government is also going to seek funding from elsewhere, and the projects will continue.
So don't you think that he's basically sacrificing the chance of his second mandate by withdrawing projects which would be used by his camp to show Kenyans that they've done something?
Ruto himself has severally said that he was not elected to be re-elected. So he has to do the right thing. So from where I sit, this was the right thing to do. And
don't you think that he's a victim of the previous mistakes done by previous regimes?
It has been 2 years, and Ruto and his deputy have been in power for 2 years. Meaning, if you have been in power for 2 years, you can't keep complaining about the things you inherited. It means you have had 2 years to plan your house, to make things, there's a popular word that the young people use, but this is TV, so we are not going to use that, but basically putting your house together.
But you also have to mind that realistically 2 years is not a very long time to fix issues which have been there for decades. We are talking about issues of corruption and those kind of things. So really judging him on 2 years, aren't you being harsh?
It is just the status quo that has made things worse. From COVID, there have been crises, that have drained many people. Actually, as we speak, many households, when you see these people demonstrating on the streets, mothers crying, young people can't go to school because parents can't afford all these things. It is not just things that we are seeing. Worse is happening in homesteads. So despite him, Ruto, saying that, he inherited a bad economy, we understand from 2014, there are many projects from the Kibaki administration, the Thika superhighway that, even the education reforms that were made have really, really, really needed huge investments. Even the Nairobi Expressway that, people are using, even the railway line, the standard gauge railway, it costed money. We understand all those things. But now, even as he makes these policies, to keep, to get the country on track, I really think that he must, take consideration of, the welfare of the people. Generally, you can't lead an angry nation. You can't. You have to please these people. For you, even to get the second term you're talking about, if you are going to tax these people to death, then who is going to elect you again?
So now that the bill has been withdrawn, is everything going to be okay now for Kenya, or you are just covering the issues which will rise up again in the near future?
I think it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no thing.
So it's a risk then?
It is a risk. It is a risk the president has taken. So depending on what he's going to, things might calm right now. Depending on, the status quo right now. We saw the deputy president saying that, urging the young people to call off protest scheduled for Thursday. We hope that the young people are going to listen now that, the government has literally conceded. So what the young people wanted, they have been given it. So I really think, even as we get to next year, because this budget is implemented every year. So from this experience, the government now knows what to prioritize in the next budget. So that, we can have all these people together. We had President Ruto say that he's going to engage the young people to try and listen to, what they want. He called for multi-sectoral engagements with the church, with other organizations, to try and take, opinions from different groups. And if you bring these young people on the table, then I think the finance bill will even be better, because this is an yearly thing. It will be better. And people won't have an excuse. Like, you see, the problem we have been having in the past is that the government comes with this finance bill. Then in Kenya, things are taken for public participation. Public participation is where you are asked, what do you think? What do you think of this tax? But still, the same taxes that Kenyans reject during public participation, they are the ones that are presented to parliament and voted because of the numbers, because Ruto enjoys the numbers. You have the MPs and, most of them want to please their masters. And we end up having all these things that Kenyans don't need on the finance bill. So with all these engagement that we're going to have, we are hoping that the young people from next year won't have an excuse to say that we think our thoughts were not considered when, making this bill.
So let's talk about the young people you've been talking about. We've seen that they've been heavily participated in this protest. And what does it show to the whole society of Kenya, the fact that young people took the lead for this protest?
What it shows us that if we come together as a population and drop our, Kenyan politics has largely been ethnic based and politicized a lot. For example, the previous protests, what makes this protest different is that from the previous protests that we have seen led by the opposition, is that these ones, at least, they encompass like people from both people who support Ruto and people who support even the president. There were protests even at the president's backyard in Eldoret, was in Gishu County. There were protests at the deputy president's home in Nyeri yesterday. More than 30 counties, there were protests yesterday. So this thing, Ruto and his administration used to say that when it is not the first time that we are seeing these protests. Last year, there were these protests, mainly led by the opposition. And what we had the government saying was that, it's just the opposition. They want to push us out of power. It's just politics. There is no ground for all these accusations the government is making. So the society is progressive now, and people are, even Ruto and his administration are appreciating that there is a discourse, a public discourse that these young people have, brought about. People, it's issue based. It's not about, who wants power, who doesn't want power, So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Now, as we conclude, what lessons do you think African countries should learn from the situation of Kenya?
So I would start by saying that, the whole of Africa can learn that the power, people hold the power. It's not about the government. It's about the people.
Yeah.
And what the people, what the masses want, we can make our governments, at least take into considerations of, the public views. It's not about what they are imposing on us. Okay? And also about, allowing this, freedom of expression to thrive. For example, what happened in Kenya? Young people came out, but there was an attempt to stop the protests using, they turned violent at sometimes because the protests were largely peaceful at first. Yeah. Then we saw the police, starting shooting, leading to the killing. Yes, using live bullets, leading to the killing of 6 people you talked about. So we should learn something from that. That protests can be peaceful. We don't need to use the police to quell the protests, and we should allow people to express themselves. Then there was something that happened. The government wanted to deploy KDF, and they did, because I saw photos of of KDF, the military vehicles, and that is illegal, by the way. If you read the Kenyan Constitution, Chapter 24, Article 241 of the Kenyan Constitution, before the military is deployed, it must be sanctioned by the National Assembly in Kenya. Yeah. So we saw we saw a gazette notice being released at night saying, "Oh, we have released the military to support the police in handling this emergency." Yeah. Then they tried to correct that in the morning by taking the motion to parliament, and it was a whole new thing that finally it was adopted, and the MPs, like I told you, if you enjoy the majority in the National Assembly and you have people who say yes, master, they are going to approve that. So it was approved, but the High Court later in the day suspended. So that means that we have courts that work, allow democracy to thrive, and allow everybody to do their work. The court did its work. Kenyans did their work by voicing their expressions, and Ruto finally listened to the young people, which all of us in Africa should learn from that.
So thank you, Wycliffe, for giving us your ideas about this issue. We hope that the situation will stay calm in Kenya going forward, because this is a very good and a very important country in Africa, especially to Rwanda. So we hope that things will stay calm as they will tonight.
Thank you so much.
Also to our viewers, thank you for tuning in at IGIHE. Until next time, goodbye.